For having me. I'm excited to chat.
I'm excited to chat with you. So you are this season three's newcomer. You play Acosta, a very tough police officer, maybe the new HBIC, I don't know. Um, but a tough police officer who is committed to getting everybody out of this weird town. How has this experience been for you?
This experience has been surreal. I started watching the show in my audition period to get on the show, and I immediately became obsessed. And so you go from sitting on your living room couch watching from on your television screen to 2 weeks later being transported into the From universe, standing alongside the actors that you've been watching for the past 20 episodes. So it was surreal, but a great, thrilling experience.
I'm so happy you got the role because it's an actor's dream, right? To
Yes.
play on a show that you enjoy watching. But I actually read that you were a fan of the show and it was recommended to you by a family member, and that's how you started watching it. How did you react when you found out that you had been hired as like a principal castmate?
Yeah, so a lot of my friends and family recommended that I watch the show, and I had a audition for it. I sent a tape in, and then when I got a call back, I thought, okay, I got to watch one of these episodes just to get the vibe. And I watched
Yeah.
season episode one, and immediately was like, this is such a mistake because I am obsessed with the show. I am hooked. I am a super fan, and now if I don't get it, I'm going to be so much more devastated. So I'm glad that
Yeah.
it's my
Yeah.
way because now I can actually be a part of the show that I also love to watch. It's a dream.
Yeah. And like what was it like joining the cast? Was there like an initiation phase? Was there like a welcome tradition from the OG cast?
So I knew Chloe Van Lanschot, who plays the doctor Christy on the show, and
Mhm.
I reached out to her and just said, "Hey, I'm on From now," and so she was great at including me in the Fromily group chat everybody has, and we did a cast dinner where I got to meet everyone, and I'm so grateful looking back that I went to that cast dinner because it's such a big ensemble cast that when you're
Mhm.
filming, if your character isn't in a scene with another character, you could go the entire season and never interact with that actor ever, and you're on a show with them and you've never met them. So, and then also
Mhm.
to be new, I didn't want to go every episode and every scene and right before I'm filming, like, hi, nice to meet you,
Yeah.
Catalina, hi, nice to meet you. So it was nice to just get all that out of the way at the dinner and meet everyone and get comfortable. So then every time I showed up on set, I've already kind of got those intros out of the way.
That's great. Actually, I'm actually really used to that because it leads me to like my next curiosity. What are the vibes on set? Because as actors, you guys are working in heightened emotions, hostility between one another in your scenes, anger, fear. Is there like a maybe it's the potlucks, I don't know, but is there something you guys do as a cast to come down from this heightened emotions to go back to that set synergy so it feels like nice and cozy again?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what I love about the show is everyone is so respectful of all the other actors and what their processes are because so many actors work differently, right? I'm very much
Mhm.
turn it on and off very easily. That's just the way that I work. Some actors sort of take things home with them or need a little bit more of their own private space to sort of get into it. So it just depends on the scene. If it's a heavier scene, sort of people are just a little bit more chill out and mellow. But then sometimes if it's a little bit of an easier scene, we're joking around and laughing. And I think the interesting element of this was it was a winter season. So it was very cold. So
Yeah.
we were kept in
Yeah.
close quarters to keep each other warm. So that was fun.
And you guys are filming in Halifax, right?
Yes. So the
Ooh,
whole
it's cold.
town
That's
of
cold.
yeah, a lot of people don't know that the whole town of From is built on an old radar base in Beaverbank, Nova Scotia, that the Canadian military used to use. So there's one road, and they found this road and they built the whole town. The production designer, the lead of it is his name's Matt Likely, and he built all of these structures. So Colony House is there, the sheriff's station is there, and so the entire world is there for us to use. And then some of the interiors, like the interior of Colony House, is filmed in a studio right outside of Halifax. So there's a mix.
The interior of Colony House is a studio.
Yeah. So, like, for example, when in season or episode 4, if anyone hasn't seen it, this is a spoiler, but when Acosta sort of is running, being chased by the creatures, running up to Colony House, you film the outside of you running up to Colony House on one day because that's filmed in the town of Beaverbank. And then, a couple days later, you have to film you entering Colony House, which was seconds later. So you have to sort of bring back all of that emotion that happened because it's shot over different days at different locations. That to me was a challenge.
So A, you're a professional, and B, that's shocking. I did not know this.
Yeah, neither did
That's
I.
TV magic. Because I thought, like, I would assume, because it's the same thing. I don't know if you watched Shameless back in the day, but
I
when I
did.
found out that Shameless was the interior of that house was also a set, I was like, you editors are magical. You guys are magical.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my God. Well, thanks for that little TV secret. I love that.
Yeah. Well, also to add, it could really trip you up if we filmed it. I can't remember actually, but imagine filming the interior of Colony House once she enters Colony House before you film. Like, we don't film in order. So
Yeah.
you could have your scene of you in Colony House bursting in and seeing everyone. You could be filming that before you film you being chased by the creatures entering Colony House. So that's also a little bit of a trip.
So how do you do it? Like, how do you go if you did that on a Monday and you're back doing the entering the house on a Thursday? How do you get back into that mindset of like that emotion, that fear that Acosta's feeling?
Yeah, I mean, my very first day on set was the scene where Acosta pulls her gun right outside the ambulance. She sees the paramedics, throats get slashed. That was my first day on set. And I was
Wow.
feeling so anxious and nervous and scared and excited. I just had all of these emotions going on. And it was my first time meeting the crew. It was a night shoot. And so I thought all of these emotions that I'm feeling right now as Samantha, the actor, that's what Acosta is feeling. So it kind of just fed.
Mm-hmm.
And then in terms of, building that up, it's just, you're just imagining and putting yourself in that imaginary circumstance, right? So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of just heavy breathing to
Well,
build.
then actually oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No worries. Go ahead.
Well, that actually brings me to my next question. As a fan of the show, I'm sure you're very excited to get started on your first day. You kind of answered it, but how did you feel on your first day? Like, you were nervous, you were kind of feeling like, how am I gonna connect with this scene, this character? How did it work out for you?
Yeah, so I did a lot of research on, what the police force is like, what a rookie cop's day to day is like, what they learn, their training, how they walk, how they talk. And that's swirling in your mind. But I'm a very like tactile person. I like stuff. I like props. I like to feel things. I like wardrobe is very important for me as an actor. And so the second when I was getting to set, I was kind of nervous. How am I going to pull this off? But once I put on her uniform, it just really informs the performance. Like when you see police officers walk and they sort of have their arms like swaying, I was sort of mimicking that in my bedroom at home by myself. But then when you put on your tool belt, you're like, oh, that's why they have to walk like that, because their arms are going to hit all of their equipment. So when I put the uniform on, it really grounded all of the research that I did. And then I was off running. Literally.
Yeah, and then you became Acosta.
Yeah.
You were no longer Samantha.
Yes.
Filming this season, were there any like standout moments for you? Things that stuck with you or that you particularly loved?
I love any scene where I get to work with Harold Perino. He's a legend. Working with him, it's a masterclass in terms of acting of, no take of his is ever the same. He is so good at a lot of the times, or not a lot of the times, but sometimes when you're working with an actor, they give like 100% on their coverage. And then when the camera turns on you, they're still there for you, but you can tell that they're not giving exactly what they gave on their own coverage. But he is, if anything, he gives you more when he's not on camera for your coverage, I so appreciate that. And working with him is also just a masterclass of like what it means to be a consummate professional. He is the leader of this show. He is so kind, so warm, so giving. So anytime I saw on the call sheet that I was working with him that day, that was one of my favorite days. I knew it was going to be. So
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm a fan of his as well. I grew up watching him, especially on BET, and he is TikTok and Cinephiles alike appointed best Mercutio of the Romeo and Juliet War.
Yes.
So
Unbeatable. Yes.
unbeatable. Yeah, no. I want to take a moment to talk about your journey to becoming an actress, because although your acting credits are stacked, this wasn't your first choice. Can you talk about that a bit more?
Yeah, so I've always wanted to be an actor since I was young, but I never admitted it to anyone because it just so illogical. Like you can't make a living off of acting. That's impossible. And also being a Canadian actor, at the time, there was still an industry in Toronto, but not anything like it is today. And so it just seemed so out of my reach. So I just took the traditional path in life. I went to university, I got a corporate job. And then 2 years in, I was like, I hate this. This is just not for me. And I was looking around and everyone loved what they were doing. And it was a great job, but it just wasn't for me. And it taught me there's a difference between being able to do something and wanting to do something. So I could have succeeded there. It just was not my passion. So I just quit and left it all behind and dived into this industry. And it took a long time to sort of get going, but now I'm finally on a little bit of a roll, which I'm happy about.
Well, I'm happy for you because, you've done a lot of great work. And I want to say, like, your credits are incredible. Like, you've done Chucky on Sci-Fi, you've done The Sinner in USA, you did What We Did in the Shadows on FX, What We Do in the Shadows on FX.
Yeah.
From is not your first experience doing horror television, so a kind of a twofer for you. Is this a genre that you prefer to work in? And how do you feel like you've evolved as an actress working in this genre?
Oh, those are great questions. This is definitely the genre that I see myself playing in for the next kind of phase of my career. The darker, the better for me. I also am starting to really love the horror genre because I feel like it's sort of like an umbrella genre. Like you can have romantic elements in a horror project. You can have adventure elements. You can have comedic elements, which is you see that in From, right? There's just so many different layers to the horror genre in general. And what was your second question?
How do you feel like you've evolved as an actress working in this genre?
Oh, I mean, in general, I feel like I evolve after every project I do. I think it's really hard as an actor when you're taking acting classes. Acting classes are so different than actually working on a set. There's so much more that to learn on a set than in any type of class. So I feel like anytime I'm on a set, I'm constantly like a sponge. I'm just studying things, learning things, stealing tricks from actors. I've stolen so much from Harold. He has no idea. But I think that's what you want in any career, right? Like just to be growing constantly and challenging yourself. And every project, I hope that I just continue to get better and better.
Well, okay. This is kind of more about me being a fan question.
Yeah. Okay.
So back to you being a fan of the show. When you get those scripts, right, and you're reading them, are you reading them kind of like as a fiction? Because obviously you love the show, but you get to play in it. So when you get your scripts, you kind of like, Acosta, girl, what? Or like the boy in white is who? Like, are you like getting, like, I feel like you're having a ball. Like every time you get a new script, you're like, oh my God, chapter 6, what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually so funny. I feel like sometimes when actors get scripts, they immediately like will search for their own name to see their own, like where their scenes are. But I'm not like that at all. I read the script as a fan for the first time, like in its entirety to see what's going on. And that's what I love about the show is like us actors are left in the dark, just like the fans are. Like we have no idea what's going on. We just get it script by script. And so I find this to be an interactive experience of like, we with the audience are trying to figure out the pieces to this puzzle together, which I love. But yeah, every time you get a script, I remember this is funny. The season finale that we got sent to us, I was at the mall and I was outside. I think it was a Steve Madden store, like a shoe store. And my phone buzzed and I got the episode and I stood in the middle of the mall. I just blacked out and froze. And I read it took me an hour and I was standing and I remember halfway through someone like poked my shoulder and I turned and it was an employee from the store. And she was like, ma'am, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, why? And she's like, you've been standing here for an hour, just in complete shock. Yeah. So getting the scripts every time is very thrilling.
Wow. No, I believe it. I feel like I said, when you're a fan of something, it's exciting. You get to read what's going to happen, but then live it out. Like that's the life.
It's a dream for sure.
So question for you, without any spoilers, what are your own theories of what's going on in the town? Like, do you have any like theories, like, conspiracy ideas of what's going on with, the monsters?
Yeah. So the answer to this question, I always say I can't answer it just because although I don't know more than the audience in terms of the whole mystery, I have seen the remainder of the season. So
right.
And that really informs my opinion. So I don't want to say it because then it's going to give away. But I will say that I want to know so badly, it bothers me so much as to where the electricity comes from. I don't know why I need to know that immediately.
Yeah, no, I agree with you because I thought we were going to figure that out in season one because that was kind of the plot point. With one of the plot points for one of the families, like they wanted to know, and also it became the source of them building a tower.
The radio tower.
Yeah, and like getting well what they thought was the signal, right?
Yeah.
So I thought we were going to figure that out then. So now I'm just like, I need to know. I need to know. Like, what is the
magic at night? Yeah, yeah.
God, this is truly one of the best shows I've ever seen. It's so well written. It's so well executed. It feels real. Like it feels so scary. And you never have a dull moment. Like when you're on set and you guys are doing these scenes, how does it feel to know that you're telling this story? Like how do you feel like the pride you have as an actress?
I think looking back at the whole season, because I didn't know what I was in for when I joined the show, but working on the show now and watching it back, you really do see that everything you see in the show and everything that is said on the show is for a reason. And so some people may say, oh, this is a slow episode or nothing happened. And it's like, just wait. There is a reason that when this is all said and done, you will rewatch and be like, oh, that's why they said that thing, or that's why they showed the color of that shirt. And so I just didn't realize until now the level of detail that goes into, honestly, every pixel of the frame is well thought out and there is a reason for it, which makes the show so fun to watch because you can watch it a million times and always see and look for something different. So I love that. And then on top of that, it's one thing to make a show that you love working on, but then to give it to the audience and to have it be perceived so well is so fulfilling.
Yes.
And I am only on the third season. I joined season 3. So I can't even imagine how the creative team, the crew, and the cast who have been here since season 1, this sort of baby show that just grew. I can't even imagine how fulfilled they must feel. So I think it's a great feeling for everyone.
And honestly, shout out to MGM, Paramount Plus, everybody who's involved in the show, because in the era of streaming, where a lot of streaming services are not giving time for a show to get their audience, I am so happy that they've taken this time to build the world, to let us get close to the characters. It's exceptional storytelling because I do think this is going to go down as one of those shows that's like Succession, Sopranos, Lost. It's going to be revered. So I agree with you. I love that. Before you go, I have one more question for you about your character, Acosta. What are your hopes for her, and what are maybe your predictions for her?
My hope for her, well, I have a couple answers to this. So one, my hope for her in terms of her perception by the audience is, I know that she's come in quite strong.
Coming in hot, isn't she?
Yes, but I hope what people see or what they think they see as to her, wanting to be the leader of this town, it's actually not the case. I think she is a good person and she is just trying to figure out this supernatural town alone. So I'm excited for people to see more layers to Acosta and to see why she's doing what she's doing. And then in terms of her story in the show, what I love about the position she's in is I honestly think the writing can take her to so many places. I have no idea. She could die during the course of this season. We don't know. But let's say she lives. I can see her teaming up with Boyd, enemies to friends type of thing. I can see her continuing to go against Boyd and start her own thing. I can just see her going so many different ways. And that's the testament to good writing is I truly don't know what will happen next. And that makes me excited as an actor to play that.
I don't know if you ever watched Sailor Moon. This is so random.
Oh, yeah.
So do you remember Ray, like Sailor Mars, her relationship with Serena? Everyone always, do you remember their dynamic a bit?
Yes.
So Acosta kind of reminds me of her, and Boyd is Serena, but obviously not as, naive, because Acosta to me is going to be Boyd's biggest ally.
Mm-hmm.
He needs her so that he can keep his head on straight and stay focused, because we see him start to fall apart. and he's not hanging on as well as he was in season one. So I think that if I don't know how it's going to go, these are just my predictions, but I feel like that dynamic is so strong, and those two are going to be like endgame. Just my ideas. I don't know.
I think too, what's interesting to add to that is it's like we know what is right and wrong and moral and immoral in the real world. And Acosta's job is to sort of service that, right? Like it's to protect and to serve and make sure that things are being followed according to the law, to make sure that people are safe and that there's no chaos. And so now that she's entered from and she sees that the rules are different, it will be interesting to see if she can sort of realign people with, hey, we need to sort of go back to the way things are in the real world. Or if she'll sort of say, okay, we got to create a new system here because what's in the real world doesn't work here, but what you guys are doing doesn't work here. So the possibilities me at this point are endless.
They're endless. Well, Samantha, thank you so much for talking to Screenfish today. It's honestly been a treat. Just like as a fangirl, so happy that I get to talk to you because I love the show. But no, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a lovely day.
Thank you. This was so fun. Thank you so much.